$1 million in the first place?
That goes back a number of years ago at the recession. There was a huge spike in the pension rates at that time, that based on the market performance of stocks. There was a big crash. The pension rate skyrocketed at that time. In listening to the needs of municipalities, the state put out an amortization program which allowed municipalities to opt into an amortization program. The alternative at that time was to absorb the increase in rates and pass that along to your current taxpayers at that time. If my memory serves me right, it would have been over $1 million increase year over year in the pension budget. The mayor at that time elected to opt into the plan just to smooth it out. I think across the state it was kind of a mixed bag. A lot of municipalities did opt into the plan. So then to smooth it out, you continued to borrow each year a decreasing amount until you got to the point where you could currently fund or budget the actual actuarial calculation. So the city's to the point where we haven't borrowed in several years, and we've been not only paying off these amortizations on there's a scheduled payment like a car payment every year. We've been making additional payments, these lump sum payments, when we have positive budgetary performance. So potentially, if we're having this conversation again next year, we can pay off the remaining balances and be done.
Mm-hmm. So 0 is where we want to get to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's a 10-year repayment period anyway. So even the city only has a few years left, but the rates are between 3 and 3.5% on these, the ones that are left. But it's better than what we're getting in the bank, so it makes sense for our taxpayers to try to pay them off quicker.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right.
You have a committee?
I do.
Why wouldn't we use the whole $390,000? You said up to, why would we not just pour it all in there?
You have to pay it off in even dollar amounts.
Oh, okay.
So, depending on what the final bill comes in at. Like I can't pay, but the state would prefer to send us a bill to pay off an actual amortization. Within this number, there's a number of amortizations I'm looking to pay off. It's not just one loan, it's multiple loans.
Control on behalf of the mayor, request approval of the following 2019 budgetary transfer from fund balance to provide funding for city-wide street paving projects.
There's a second part to that.
Oh, yeah, okay. To construction materials and supplies, 300. Is it 300?
300,000, and then below it's 50,000 to overtime.
Overtime, 50,000, okay. And additionally, request approval of the use of $390,000 in fund balance to pay off remaining amortization for the New York State retirement system. So the impact is $740,000. Okay.
So just to follow up on that one there, as I've done prior years, I'll come back later in the year for the actual budgetary transfer, because that's going to be, we budget the retirement system costs across every department in the city. So once I have a final allocation of that, I'll come back with a transfer.
Other questions?
So this is going to add a fair amount of work to what y'all are doing.
Yes.
And are you doing the paving in-house, or you don't have to hire somebody else to do it?
Callahan will be, our current paving crew will be doing the paving. We do the work, the prep work in-house. All our guys, they'll come in and mill. We then follow through, do the prep work, change manholes, catch basins, whatever needs to be done, clean up, and then our trucks haul it take away the mills, then supply the blacktop to the paver.
And then some of this will be done in conjunction with the Central Hudson paving?
Yes, some of it, we are in communication with Central Hudson. I'm still awaiting a final number from them, what they're gonna contribute for the Washington Avenue project. Can't disclose those numbers at this time, but it's fairly substantial.
Okay.
The other will be out of that 350 per se, have a $50,000 block for overtime because our aggressive schedule is just that. It's very aggressive, and to fit it all in, we need to have the guys working the overtime. Also out of that, there's a couple of overages on some paving that I cannot use the CHIPS funding for. So we're going to clean up a couple of projects, some of the repairs to Wilbur Avenue. I think we have a $15,000 tab left for that project. So we're cleaning up a couple of them things and adding about 8 streets worth of paving out of that money as well. Also, the Broadway underpass, we're going to be hitting that this Monday. Weather, if the weather works with us, 4 a.m. we're going to be out there paving to get that cleaned up a bit, and to kind of patch that until the Broadway streetscapes takes control and gets going.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll be with you at 4 a.m. for the ribbon cutting.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it.
He's my designee. Right?
I think that's Bill Carey's word, isn't it?
Okay. All right, other questions? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Thanks for paving the streets, Ed.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely, needs to be done.
Okay, moving on now to Kristen and Lou.
Did
You have several.
Chance to pay attention to that whole cover that's
Come.
from Maine and
Come
Washington?
join us.
So you put some shims under there or something?
Shimmed it, put some silicone on it to try to quiet it down, but that's, again, going to
Hi.
be a replacement.
It seemed like it was quieter than some.
What's that? Pretty good.
Yeah.
Still lacking.
Okay, we
Appreciate
will
it.
skip the 6th item, which is the Henry Street Safe Routes to School project. State environmental quality review, which belongs with laws and rules, and move on to the
Oh, good.
7th one, which is mobile stage expended funds. Okay, that's you, Ruth.
Yes, we're requesting a resolution to move forward with purchasing our mobile stage, which is a grant-funded purchase of a mobile community stage that can be used by the city and also available for rental to different community groups. We received a grant through Kevin Cahill for $125,000, and then an additional sponsorship donation from Radio Kingston to cover the full cost of the stage.
Radio Kingston is kicking in $25,000.
Yes, they will have some priority use of the stage for different community events, but they work with a lot of different groups throughout the city,
Yeah.
so their constituents really are similar to everyone who would be using it.
It's a generous contribution.
What kind of priority would they get?
Um,
25,000.
They will not necessarily have to pay for the fee, and it's a limited contract that's renewable. So it covers the use of the stage, although we haven't determined what the actual fees for renting the stage are yet. We have to work with DPW once the stage arrives, and we determine how long it takes to set up, and then break down and pick up, deliver and pick up the stage. So by fall, we expect delivery, and we'll have the stage company come in to do training. So for Radio Kingston, they wouldn't need to pay that fee for the use. And they expect to need it once or twice a month during the warm weather. So it's not an abundance of use, but they will receive some priority for scheduling.
So they're gonna receive scheduling priority and no payment for 25,000
Right,
for the life of the
stage
of
itself.
the stage.
It's renewable after 5 years. We'll sit down and talk about whether it's the system has worked properly, or if there's any issues that have come up over time. But it's a pretty generous offer on both sides, so we're not anticipating any difficulty with it. But after the first round expires, we'll sit down and talk about it again, renegotiate, and we'll take it from there.
Has this been put out to bid? Is this a firm price?
Yes, we put an RFP out and we got quotes back.
Okay.
Can you just briefly describe it to me?
The stage itself, it's a mobile stage that comes in its own trailer. So it's stored in the trailer. It will be stored at the Conti Street address, the DPW Conti Street address. It has a hitch that most trucks can connect it to and pull it for delivery to whatever location it's going to. Once it arrives, there's some minimal setup that's manual with the people who are doing the setup, and then there's a hydraulic system which requires just the push of a button, and then the sides and the roof come out automatically. And then to put it away, you push the button again and it starts to fold back up, and then the technicians come and assemble it back into its trailer, then it is picked up and delivered back.
How big a vehicle does it take to move this?
I don't know the size.
Standard heavy pickup or 1 ton,
Oh, really?
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe a 550 or something.
Yeah.
Something somebody could drive without having a Class A license, basically.
And we're sure that when it's folded up in the trailer, that it's narrower than the width of a street?
Oh, it's for travel, it won't be over with.
Okay.
Yeah, it's made to meet regulations for
Great.
travel on roads.
I think it might be 8'6", which is, under the max.
Well, yes, I mean, this is a really, really cool thing. We've had that park down there for a long time without, I'm gonna say without a stage, because the stages that have been down there are dreadful.
Yeah,
I
this
played
one-
on them sometimes, but my foot went through the bottom of it one time. I mean, they were awful. And then I think we were renting some, so this is nice. I mean, I'm happy to see a quality stage down there. I mean, there's a lot of activity, and it really deserves having a stage down there. So.
This can be moved around to whatever, we have to still determine which parks have the right setup, that can handle the weight of it, or, the terrain needs to, electrical needs, the terrain needs to be even, and so we will have to work that out when we get a little closer to the delivery. But it's for use, in a lot of different types of locations.
Oh, very nice.
Do you have a committee report?
Pardon me?
Do you have a committee report?
I don't.
I believe there was one.
Is there?
There's two.
Oh, wait a minute, it's just, yeah, I beg your pardon, it's right here. Okay, Department Office of Grants Management, a resolution authorizing the implementation and funding in the first instance 100% of the cost of the mobile community stage. Estimated financial impact, zero.
That's what we like.
And then to follow that up, I have budgetary transfer, and it's a wash.
Okay, let's deal with this resolution first. Is there
Motion.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And now, Controller on behalf of DPW requests 2019 budgetary transfer for mobile community setup, request of grants management as follows. Increase on the revenue side, private agency grant, $25,000, and increase New York State grant, $125,000, totaling $150,000. Then increase the expense line, other equipment, $150,000. Motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving on to Dietz Stadium and Transportation Projects and Andretta Pool. Here. So, two committee reports here. One is the resolution of the Common Council authorizing the mayor to spend funds in the first instance for the DRI Initiative Grant for upgrades to Dietz Stadium and Andretta Pool. And let's see, we're looking at we've been awarded funding of $2.5 million for these projects.
I think Dietz is 2.5 million, and the transportation project is 2.3.
2.3275.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's a different resolution. So we have funding of $2.5 million to upgrade Dietz Stadium and Andretta Pool, and you've highlighted the improvements that will be made in the communication.
Just to give a little background, so this was part of our downtown revitalization initiative, award the $10 million award for Uptown Kingston. So this is, the project went through a planning process. There was a strategic investment plan that was created by the city, that was submitted to the governor's office. The governor's office then selected the projects from that strategic investment plan to be funded by through the $10 million, and one of them was the Dietz Stadium project. So the funds are now being run through the Department of State, and there's no match required, but we do need a resolution to start spending funds. We've recently put out an RFP for design consultants, and
We're gonna go down to 3 we're interviewing next week.
so, soon we'll have design consultants on board and
Mhm.
need to spend the money.
So this is a resolution to spend the entire $2.5 million?
Yes, I mean, it's to be able to.
Yeah, okay.
So, the first part we'll spend on consultants, which, I'm not sure what the fee will be yet, but that's part of the interviews and negotiations. That it'll be a portion of that 2.5 million, probably under 500,000. And then the rest would be used for construction.
How long will these projects go on?
Well, these
Clarification.
are downtown revitalization initiative projects. It's a, priority for the governor, so they want us to, make them happen fast. So I think we had like a year for design?
Yeah, we were
less
thinking of construction in 2020 summer.
Okay, resolution from the Office of Grants Management. Are there any other questions? Yes.
So there's still, it looks like a fair amount of decision-making to be made here about what amenities are gonna be added to and fixed with Dietz Stadium.
Yeah.
And that's, what's the process for deciding that?
Well, we'll have a project advisory committee
Mhm.
that will guide the consultants, and they will start meeting probably after the consultants do the initial analysis and survey and that sort of thing. And then, I think we scheduled, what, two public meetings?
Two public
Two
meetings.
public meetings in the design process. And, you know, that will be the opportunity for the public to give input on.
Okay.
on
And
the
who's on the advisory committee? Who gets on that?
We haven't established it yet.
Not yet, we're starting to formulate some recommendations for the
Okay.
committee. It's likely Rich Silverstein, who's the athletic director at the high school, will be involved. Has been involved in the procurement process for
Mhm.
selecting the consultant. And then other community members, and representatives from the city.
And I should add that I'm the liaison to the Deep Stadium Commission. So we discussed, we've been discussing these improvements, and I think in general, all these improvements are to get us additional revenue in terms of state events coming to the stadium, which, you know, they all seem to be bypassing us now in favor of new stadiums that are around, particularly Middletown. I remember when the turf went in the first time, people couldn't wait to get here. And now it's old, and it's not new anymore. So, hopefully these improvements are really gonna renew interest in coming here. It's a good location. We're centrally located in the state. I think this is really gonna pay off for the city, for businesses around here, people coming here, staying, eating, getting gas, whatever. I think we're gonna see a big influx of people coming and using this. Great, I'm all for it.
Okay. Thanks.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston authorizing the mayor to expend funds in the first instance for the DRI initiative grant number from the New York State Department of State for upgrades to Deet Stadium and Andretta Pool. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And secondly is for the authorizing the mayor to spend first instance for the uptown transportation improvements. Can you just brief us on that?
Yeah, so similar initial process. This was one of the projects that was selected by the governor in the strategic investment plan. Well, essentially, they allocated 2.3, whatever.
2.3275.
Yeah, they allocated that to transportation improvements, and we had a lot of options in the strategic investment plan, including Schwenk Drive, the reversal of the Wallen Fair, some intersection improvements, and so what we figured out that we can afford is, Schwenk Drive was specifically chosen by the governor, so, or the Department of State, and so Schwenk Drive improvements and improvements to the Clinton Ave and Albany Ave intersection, which really tie into the I-587 circle that will be there in the future. So we really want to improve that intersection so we don't have backups, in between the I-587 circle and the Clinton Ave and Albany Ave light, and then also Clinton Ave and Westbrook Lane. So that's that three-way stop, and the way it's currently configured is really slows traffic down getting into the Hannaford Plaza. So those are the three focus areas of those transportation.
Okay.
And then with Schwenk Drive, are the improvements along there, is that being thought of in conjunction with the Kingstonian project, in spite of, parallel to?
No, it'll be in conjunction with the Kingstonian and any other project that's actually in the vicinity. So Norley Ave, we have a wayfinding plan that's underway. I'm trying to remember what else we named in there.
Nearby, the Joyce Lane intersection for Deets will be happening at the same.
Oh, right.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, we have a pedestrian safety action plan project. It's a different federal aid project, but it's for that intersection at Joyce Lane and Deets. So And we would expect the consultants to be working with the Deed Stadium consultants, because Deed Stadium will also be looking at traffic flow and how, not just the actual architecture of the buildings and deeds, but, you know, what's happening and what's happening with the site plan around the whole area. So in the RFP, we specifically named that all those projects that the consultants need to, you know, work concurrently with them.
So to some degree, they need to wait and make sure that the Kingstonian project is actually going to go through.
Yeah,
Yes, okay.
yeah.
And then will there be a community involvement in that too, or is it more technical and so?
No, it'll be very similar. We'll have a project advisory committee,
Okay.
and we'll also have I think we had 2 public meetings in that one as well,
Mhm.
which, you know, we normally have 1 public meeting for design projects. You know, maybe we'll have 2, or we might have some additional outreach, but, I mean, we recognize that we need, you know, a lot of public engagement on these projects.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the resolution is to expend funds in the first instance from the DRI grant from the New York State Department of State for uptown transportation improvements. These are welcome improvements.
And this is also, there's no match funding, so
No match funds, right? Right, no matching funds.
required.
So financial impact to the city is 0. Okay, is there a motion?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay. Moving on to local match for Empire State Trail Route 32 sidewalks, pages 54 and 55 in your packet. You're looking for a local, as I understand, you're looking for a local match of $130,000 to go with the grant of $520.
There should be an updated letter that I put in today. Do you all have that?
She sent it to Lisa, she's not here for the one about me.
Oh, okay.
Carol had asked us to read
I have a letter,
I'm gonna have to go print out. Yeah, that would be good. It's under communications. Okay. For this month. Say updated. Yeah, it says updated letter, and there's 2 resolutions and 2 committee reports.
okay. All right, then we can, while we're waiting for that, we could discuss, and you had written me on this, an additional special finance committee for CFAs, and so you can pass them in the July meeting.
Yeah, those of you who've been around in the past, usually we have big, like 9 resolutions, or we have in the past for CFA. CFAs stand for Consolidated Funding Application. It's all of the, not all, but most of the state grants for capital projects are due at the end of July. And for many of them, we have to have a municipal resolution that's passed, you know, at the July meeting. So this year, I requested a special finance meeting, just to cover only CFAs. I thought that, we need a little more time this year we've always been very intentional, but we're looking to be very intentional about what we apply for this year, given our current project workload and staff capacities. So we want to get ready for you at the end of June.
So could we, I would suggest we try and do this, do one the week of June 24th. We have public safety and the general government meets on the 26th. Could we have that meeting before then? You'd be there, I'll be there,
I'll be there.
you'll be there, so there's 3 of us.
You mean before in a week or preceding the meeting?
Preceding the meeting.
Or following, it might make more sense to do it following. It might make more sense to do it following the public safety meeting, because usually there's not much.
Because we're gonna have another person from this committee. We don't want to make them sit through the whole public safety meeting.
Do you know if there's gonna be much on the,
I
Right
haven't
now,
seen
there's
an
3
agenda.
items on
Huh?
there. There's only 3 items on the public safety. Couple of handicaps and something else. You don't have much on this one.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
No, it's online. The
We're not
agenda-
gonna have
all
one
the
that takes an
agendas for all
hour.
the meetings are online.
Hey, you never know.
Yeah.
you never know.
Well, I don't care whether we have it before or after.
It really doesn't matter to me, I don't know. Prior to it, I guess.
Okay.
That seems to be what we normally do,
We normally have it prior to.
prior to.
Yeah, let's have it prior to the public. Patrick, can you attend that night?
I'll try to be there, yes, best of my ability.
Okay, and we'll let Tony know. Okay, all right. Well, we need, us three will be here. We need
I
one
understand.
other person. All right. So let's
We have
make
to
it,
check- We have to check Granicus, because we don't have Granicus availability up here, to make sure there's nothing prior to 6:30 in this room. I don't have privilege, I don't have access to that here, I have to check my computer, or Elise's computer tomorrow. We just want to make sure that there's not a meeting abutting public safety, because this room is very busy. Sometimes there's meetings up until the next meeting. So let me just check that tomorrow, to make sure
Okay.
this room is free,
okay.
that no one else has scheduled. Because they
Okay.
go on Granicus and schedule a
So-
lot of stuff,
so
but I
the-
don't know it off the top of my
The
head.
intent would be to perhaps.
Like 6 o'clock, you wanna,
Yeah, why don't we
if
say
the room's
6?
available?
What
6
time?
o'clock, okay?
What time is
Yeah,
the public
that's
safety
good.
meeting?
6:30.
6:30. Is
You
that
might
enough
wanna go
time?
with 5:30. I mean,
I don't know if anybody-
yeah, I mean, we might have, like 5 resolutions, and then sometimes, community member,
Depends on
sometimes
the
community,
schedule, too.
organizations need a resolution too, so I was gonna have them bring their resolutions.
So you think 6 o'clock is
I mean, if
compressing?
you guys don't have a lot of questions, we can speed right through it, but,
No.
I would suggest probably 5:30.
No,
I'm fine with that,
Yeah,
that's
I'll
good.
go with your suggestion.
I'm seeing here there's Climate Smart at 5. Is that in this room?
Climate
No,
smart.
that's next door.
That's next door.
Okay.
Okay, let's go with 5:30 on
Is Kevin available at 5:30?
June 26th, assuming the room is available. If it's not, then we'll have to maybe put it at the
Right,
end.
I
of
know.
the-
Like, because Kevin's, do
I
you
don't
need
know,
to be at
I
these
don't know,
meetings?
I don't know what you're
You
talking
don't.
about.
They're planning on having a meeting like 5:30 on the 26th?
26th.
24th?
A meeting for,
For the consolidated funding application resolutions.
never been a part of that before, so no, make this, make.
No, it was part of the
schedule this-
finance committee.
Schedule
so-
this according to your needs, don't think about, I'm not normally associated or involved in that anyway.
Then we're good,
Okay.
right? Okay.
All right. Okay, so we're waiting for,
So I can explain the project while we're waiting for Dan to return with the letter. Essentially, it's a letter requesting authorization in the first instance of match funding for a project on Route 32. New York State DOT has been working on design of a project for the Empire State Trail on Route 32, starting at Rockwell Lane and coming all the way into Kingston through Greenhill Avenue and around on Fashion Lane, and then down to Broadway, connecting in with the Broadway Streetscape project. And originally, their design had planned for simply 5-foot shoulders on both sides of Route 32, between Rockwell Lane and that crazy intersection, Greenhill Wall and South Wall. And the city, gave the DOT feedback and advocated for sidewalks, because that's really been a priority. It's been a project that has been talked about for a very long time, having sidewalks on Route 32, at least up to Golden Hill and also up to the Institute for Family Health. And so, initially they weren't going to be able to do it, but then they found more federal funding. New York State DOT found more federal funding for sidewalks. So now they're able to include that in the project. And I think the numbers will be in the letter that Ruth Ann brings up, but the sidewalks are, I want to say it was $534,000, and there's a 20% local match required, which is $107,000. And so the resolutions are for the match funding only. So it's for the $107,000 bond and authorization of, it's a New York State DOT resolution that,
So it'll be sidewalks on one side only,
yeah.
and coming into the city from the jail, is it on the right or left? Because east-west means
Yeah, so
north-south,
if you're standing at Stewart's facing out towards 32, like you're gonna drive away towards Rosendale and be on the, I believe it's on the right side.
Right side, okay.
So it's on the right side where Golden Hill and the Institute for Family Health, it's Amy K. Parkway.
And what about the bikes?
So the bicycles, it'll still be on the other side of the road, there will still be a 5-foot wide shoulder, and I think it would be a 2-foot wide. I mean, for bicycles going out of the city, I think they will be expected to go in the traffic. But from my point of view, it's on the Empire State Trail. If you got kids on a road, I'd rather have them on the sidewalk. And kids are allowed to be on sidewalk. If you're thinking about kids traveling on this Empire State Trail, I would prefer to have them on sidewalks than on a 5-foot wide shoulder. Because we all know about bicycle accidents that have happened recently in Ulster County where people are on big wide shoulders and they'll get hit. But the curb is a nice deterrent. So there'll also be rumble strips. The other thing that the city requested were rumble strips in the white line area. So, but there will be a meeting. It's in the letter that we shared, and I think it's June 19th. There will be an open house that New York State DOT will hold on June 19th from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And then you'll be able to see the design for the entire project.
So the total cost of the project of just the sidewalk is $534,000, of which $427,000, is that 80%?
Should be 80%.
Yeah, okay. Will be federally funded and a local match of 107, yes, is required. So the city must pass a resolution drafted by DOT to appropriate a match funding for the project and pass a resolution authorizing a bond for that amount, which is $107,000.
Does the, once they drive into the corner at Seward's, where is the bike path?
Well, after that, you mean going on Greenkill Avenue?
Goes down Green Hill Avenue?
Yeah, it goes down Greenkill Avenue.
Can I just be painted lines?
No, I think that it will be a protected bike lane, a 2-way bike path, like what we're doing on Broadway, on one side of the road. I can't recall exactly. I know that there was discussion about whether it was going to be on one side. There's a median there with lots of trees.
Yeah.
So there was discussion about where that was going to be, and that will be revealed in the public meeting.
And when it gets toward Broadway, do you jump over to Cedar Street?
It goes over the Greenkill Bridge, and then it goes around on Fashion Lane, and then it comes down, is that Railroad Ave there?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And then it connects into the protected bike lane on Broadway. So,
If we wait any longer, will the price go down further?
that's not my experience. I mean, I don't remember the total project cost, I'm sure they'll share it at the June 9th meeting, but I think the total project cost for the entire project is, you know, above $2 million.
Mhm.
So for the city to pay $107,000 for sidewalks as, you know, a little teeny portion of the project, that's a
Yeah.
pretty good deal.
Our out-of-pocket will be the full 534,
No,
Chris, and
our
then we have
out-of-pocket
420.
will only be 107.
We don't have to pay any of the 534 in the first instance? No?
No,
Okay.
because it'll be, essentially what we'll do is we'll write a check to DOT for the 107.
Okay.
And then they will manage all the finances. It'll be similar to what we did with I-587. So they'll manage all the finances. And they'll manage, they're the project managers, it's their project, so they will manage the bid and the contractor and everything else.
The resolution authorizes the implementation and funding of 100% of the cost of an eligible transportation federal aid project and state aid project to fully fund the local share of federal and state aid eligible and ineligible project costs for the Route 32 Amy K Parkway to Twinsburg Avenue sidewalk construction project. So the estimated financial impact is $170,000.
Motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Way aye.
Huh?
Aye.
Aye, okay, good.
I personally think this would be a popular one, but maybe not, who never know. I mean, as far as sidewalks on Route 32.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard many, many stories of people pushing kids in strollers and,
No, it's desperately
Yeah.
needed over there.
Okay, I think that's it
that's it.
for you guys, yeah. Okay, good work, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What's that?
There was a second resolution.
There's a bond ordinance and there's usually a project authorization funding in the first instance.
And what she just handed us, there was two.
What's that?
And what she just handed us, there were
Well, I normally
Yeah,
get it.
those are two different ones, right?
Yeah.
So this is the authorization in the first instance that, one of them that's going around should be the bond.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going around. That's why I'm asking.
Did the bond go around too? There were two,
I sent it to Janet.
communications?
No, I did not.
I don't think so.
Where?
There were two. There was a bond and then there was also the project.
Yeah, that's why I was asking. 'Cause I
For the
don't think I got one
sidewalks?
going around.
Yes. There was a bond and then the
Yes, I
project.
didn't know.
She just handed us two resolutions, or two committee reports.
Sorry about that.
I beg your pardon, here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. But I didn't find it.
I'll have to call Kyle Shaw.
Yeah.
Her computer's so much, that's my message. She can't access those minutes. She can't look at the tab. If you're requesting something, the data for a room, she doesn't see
Okay,
it.
we have the resolution for the
And then
bond.
I'm gone for a few days and
Yeah.
nothing gets done. I'm still working.
Yeah.
Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston authorizing a bond ordinance in the sum of $107,000 to fund the local share of a New York State DOT managed project to construct sidewalks on Route 32 in the City of Kingston from Amy K Parkway to Twinsburg Avenue as part of federal aid project PIN 8759.13.
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There you go, okay. Aye. Okay, thank you for.
Is that the list of them?
Yeah.
You signed one tonight and that one?
And that one's coming
Yep,
around.
no problem.
Okay. The controller update,
Ever,
things looking good still.
Yeah, well, we touched base on the numbers for the end of 2018, the pre-audit numbers. We talked about the increase in fund balance year over year. A copy of our annual filing with the state controller is available on our website. It's filed under my department. The last several years' filings were there. We keep the audits there as well. We did have a pickup in fund balance from 2017, 2018. With the actions that we've taken now, we're down, fund balances. We've been putting distance of what the policy limit is. If you do look at the report, there's been some new accounting standards that have been put forth, which change some of the accounting for some long-term liabilities in the sewer and water fund. So the sewer and water fund balance both took a dip in 2018 due to new accounting pronouncements, but they're basically non-cash, non-current liabilities. So, but as you look at the report, if you have any questions, please give me a call. Currently, you have a handout for the current year through April. Things are tracking rather positive so far. Sales tax at this point is still tracking positive. We are at 3.77% over the prior year. Remember, there's some limitations with what that sales tax number will be. If we are capped, there is a hard cap of $13,825,000. We are on target to reach that number, and that would put us $180,000 over the 2019 budget. Additionally, the parking revenue, building code revenue is all tracking positive. Major expense categories, regular pay being the biggest one, health insurance, all tracking positive. We're a little high on overtime. Part of that has been slightly understaffed in certain departments where, when we have, particularly the public safety departments, when they have shortfalls in positions, there's a delay in rehiring those positions. So they'll cause the overtime to increase for a period of time until they refill and rehire those positions. It'll probably track a little high throughout the summer. You tend to see a spike in overtime throughout the summer. But at this point, anyway, the positive trend in regular pay would outweigh the negative trend in overtime pay. So I'm not concerned about that at this point. Continue to keep you posted. Contingency balance is $715,000. There's nothing that was submitted this month that will draw on contingency, so that number will continue again next month. I give you an updated fund balance, the 17.03%, and that is prior to the draws that we've made. So we're sitting at just over 13% now. So things look fine at this point. I sent everyone an email. You have a copy of these reports, and you also have the actual detailed expense and revenue reports as well. You can look at all the different categories. If you have any questions, let me know. I'd recommend, if you haven't spent time drill through those, take a few minutes at some point and look through those.
And bonding limit, are we still within comfortable?
Well, the bonding limit we measure once a year. It was last measured with the 2019 budget. It was right here. The 26.18% at 12/31/18. And at this point, we're looking at doing a short-term note, probably in August. And I'm trying to calculate how much we're going to borrow there, but there's going to continue to be pressure on our, not necessarily on the debt limit. I mean, we're very safe with the debt limit, but because that's we would have to.
Well, that's what I meant.
We'd have to increase our debt tremendously to get anywhere near the debt limit. It's more of a budgetary concern that we should be thinking about when we are authorizing projects and evaluating bond ordinances. Is what is the impact? Not necessarily on the debt limit. I mean, that is a factor, but we would experience significant budgetary stress long before we'd ever hit a debt limit. Okay, so just keep that in mind.
Okay.
That's why at this point, the budgetary stress is primary. I would consider debt limit secondary.
Mhm.
And we have net indebtedness at 12/31/18 of 26 million. We were only 26% of our debt limit. We had a $99 million debt limit, so we're nowhere near that. If we wanted to file, we could file exemptions on a lot of the sewer debt.
Mhm.
So it's really a budgetary consideration that you have to think about.
Mhm.
In the general fund, every $170,000 of a annual debt service payment is a 1% tax increase. And, the number's much smaller for the sewer fund, so
What was that number?
roughly, well, if you take the tax levy and you do, a percent of the tax levy, so that, the 2019 tax levy was 17,650,000. So if you take $176,000, that's a 1% now. Keep in mind, a lot of the projects that we're looking at are 20-year projects. So, it's a $2 million project over 20 years is only, when I say only, it's $100,000 a year. Plus interest. I mean, that's just straight line principal.
Mhm.
But that's, should be clicking in your heads as you're evaluating everything. And,
Okay.
don't be afraid to ask questions about those types of things. A lot of the major projects have been in the sewer fund. Some of the storm sewer projects, including Jacobs Valley, are from the general fund. So that's part of our general fund tax levy. So,
Okay.
okay.
Other questions? Okay, motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?